are different. So we want to start the in-person gatherings of interested parties to set our goals, to talk about communities we need to reach out to. Like in North Carolina, it's the home of the majority of HBCUs. So how are you going to reach out to the HBCU crowd to make sure they're at the table, to make sure they're included? So we want to, that's step number one. Number two, we're going to, after we've mapped the plan, we're going to make an effort, a strong effort, to ensure that we're doing the right outreach, that we have touched everybody, even the people we don't like, even the people we don't agree with, even the people whose politics may be different. Doesn't matter. We want black folk in the room and at the table, because at the bottom line, one thing we all got in common is we black. Third step, we're going to ask you to develop your state's delegate plan. How are you reaching people? When are you reaching people? How are you gathering them? We are going to give to you a delegate plan that that will be sort of your checklist to help you navigate this process. And number four, we're going to ask you to adhere to the document we're going to give you in terms of deadlines, timelines, goals, et cetera, et cetera. Things we're going to ask you is people who want to run for delegate have to sign a candidacy pledge to let us know they're running. We don't want anybody later to say, well, I was running. Nope, if you want to run, you got to fill out the paper that says I'm running and turn it in by X time, so you can't say your name wasn't on the ballot because you missed it. So all of these things we want to make sure we're fair, we're transparent, and we are aggressively open to ensuring that everyone who wants to participate has an opportunity to participate. Next slide. Okay, so we're going to ask make space for some questions, but first I want to ask Mignon, since you've run this process for the Democratic Party, what does this look like to you, or how does it feel to you? Anything you want to add?
Good afternoon. I guess we have all the delegates in the room. You're the first set, so thank you for coming. Actually, this is a modified process that we go through and Leah sits on the Rules and Bylaws Committee. Every 4 years, we go through this process at the DNC, and it's pretty laborious, but we have gotten it to a point where we have perfected it. And one of the things that we look for is inclusion, and I think Leah touched on it in her talking points. You got to make sure that there's equity even among black people, and you got to be inclusive. And I think the biggest challenge is going to be how you deal with your politics in your state and making sure you're in alignment. And you do want to consult your elected officials, because what we see, we call our elected officials on the DNC our superdelegates, and they become your firewall. I mean, if you recall, July 21st, 2024, we had a switch. And the superdelegates are a firewall, so you need a safety net, even in doing an assembly like this, because when you come to the assembly, what we do at the DNC is we're voting on policy, platform that unfortunately nobody ever reads, but the fact that Dr. David John has put together all these policy papers, I'm sure Angela and team are going to be calling those down. And if you haven't had a chance to go over those, you should be reading them, because that's part of what you will be running on. And then the second part is how you do your outreach and how you communicate that outreach, because you want to make sure, because this process, this State of the People's process has been very congenial, it's been very inclusive, it's put all the organizations at the table. So if you know you have lead organizations in your state that you should be coalescing with, this is a good time to go back and convene a small meeting. And I will say, if the state hasn't been represented with the State of the People, please find out from Angela or Leah or someone, how do you get in that process very quickly, because you might be the leader of this convening. So don't be shy about calling your own meeting in the state. But be inclusive, that's the most important thing.
Yes, and what Mignon asked, and for the state leads who are in the room, you might not know you have this assignment, but I'm going to let you know right now, newsflash. But the states that we have been organizing on this tour, the state leads for the tour will be the state leads for these convenings to pull the state together. There's my Bajia over there. She did North Carolina. And I see Des, and where's Gabby? So if you had
New Jersey.
New Jersey, it was Gabby, and so they will be responsible for pulling together New Jersey. So any of the states that we did on this tour, those same leads will be your lead to help launch this process. If you weren't in this first half of the tour, then we're gonna get you a lead, or you might want to volunteer to start the process of organizing in your state. And if so, let any one of us know so we can get you plugged in. Maurice, I want to ask you, for the Working Families Party, you said you had your last convention in 2023. How does this feel to you, or what advice would you give us or folks as they're thinking about being delegates and what the responsibility of that is, what it really means, what's the weight of it? Share a little bit with us about how it works for you.
Absolutely. By the way, if you love black people, can I hear you? Okay, I'm in the right place. I lead the Working Families Party, and the same principles apply, right? So I think I heard you say the word organize or organization maybe 20 times, right? And so the role of a delegate is not to represent yourself, right? It's a responsibility. You need to actually represent folks in your state, represent your state. So when we have a convention, all of the folks are coming in pre-organized to be productive representatives of ideas and engage in the debate in a way where it's not just whatever's coming into my head in the moment, right? I've actually done the organizing work. So that principle is really true. The other thing is, there's a 6-month runway, and somebody much wiser than me says you could raise and spend money, but you can't raise and spend time. So everybody has a task over the next 6 months to be able to organize a delegation, right? So all the folks coming from particular states. And then the other thing that you said is that, the job is to make sure that it's representative of all black people, right? Not just the black people you know, not just the black people you like, but your job is to actually make sure that, the crotchety person that I don't like, but I know should really be there because they built a base of black people. They've really built a base of black people. And I may not agree with them on all things. It wouldn't be representative of my space, of my state, if they weren't in the room or if that community wasn't in the room, right? And so we work really hard at the Working Families Party to do the same, to make sure that our coalition is diverse, right? If you're in a coalition and you like everybody, you're just hanging out, right? The coalition table is wide enough when you're like, man, I can't stand this person, but they're bringing ideas and power to the table that I can't deny, right? And so this is a sacred obligation to actually go into your state and do the work where you're not picking winners and losers, you're representing all black people. And so that's something that we think about very seriously. And then the last thing I'll say is that the fact that you have different tiers, like there's, we're a hybrid party, and similar to the Democratic Party, it's not just individuals, it's also labor unions and other. So we also work really hard to make sure that those voices are in the room, right? Those powerful organizations are in the room, elected officials are in the room, everyday people are in the room, and it's that synergy of all those different perspectives that really make the space. And so I hear a lot of common threads. We might be an independent third party, but at the end of the day, it's democracy, right? And democracy is not just voting. Democracy is what we're doing right now, and it's this process over the next 6 months that we're doing. The last thing I'll say is what makes this process so important is I hear all the time, I hear every single day when I'm organizing in black communities, that people in the political process take black people for granted. A lot of times I hear from black conservatives, the Democratic Party plantation, when you gonna get, I hear that, right? Look, it makes no sense to leave one plantation and go to another plantation, right? Right? So when people are saying that black people are taken for granted, I take that seriously. I've been in those positions because there are people who are more interested in black votes and not so interested in a black agenda. And what we're doing over these next 6 months is putting a spotlight on the black agenda so that no matter who we engage with, it could be friends, it could be foes, we're engaging based on a black agenda because we have no permanent enemies, no permanent friends, just permanent interest. And the way that we discover and discern what those interests are is by getting together and deciding what's the game plan, what's the agenda. And then I can meet with anybody. I can meet with the right wing, I can meet with the left wing, I can meet with people with no politics from a strong base. But if I don't have an agenda, I will get lost in the sauce. If I don't have an agenda, I will get played, right? So this is our time to get our stuff together way before 2028. So then when we're engaging with anybody, Democrat, Republican, whoever, we understand what the assignment is.
Excellent, excellent. So, Shanti, I want to switch gears a little bit for you and for Karen, because you deal with people running for office. What tips would you give folks as we're sitting here and thinking about, I want to run for delegate? What are some basic principles and things that people should keep in mind as they are considering and as they are getting their candidacy together?
Yes, absolutely. Hello, everyone. So,
Hold on one second. Hello, y'all on the side over there? David Johns, I can see you because you the tall one. That's all. Can y'all take your conversation out or in? Amen. Praise the Lord.
all right. So, I am going to give you the biggest tip that we always tell people in the Emerge Network when they want to run for office, when they want to run for anything. What is your why? You have to know that. So who wants to shout out their why for being here today? Ooh, love it. Who else? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the rolling back of rights. Right here. Amen.
Pan-African, thank you. Establish a grassroots-directed, people-centered, Pan-African oriented organizing model that not only ensures that the people on the ground in the states where we are organizing will be able to express their needs and their aspirations and their opinions of how to proceed at a national convention, but also to ensure that this effort not only brings together the people on the ground in the different states, but also links us with our brothers and sisters around the world, all of whom face the exact same crises that we face right here in the United States.
That is a why with a vision.
One more why.
Civic apathy.
Yes.
Great.
Your why, if you run for delegate, that is what you want to center when you are talking to other people. The bishop outlined issues. You have to know your issues. You also have to keep those centered, and then that's going to connect us to the policies of your state. So Mignon mentioned we have the black papers. If you haven't read them, if you don't know about them, definitely check them out before you run for delegate, because those are things that we're going to want to continue to refine when you're a delegate to make sure that it is inclusive of your state, it is inclusive nationally, and all of that will tie back to what? Your why. Your why, your issues, it connects to what values. What values do you want to uphold as a delegate for your state? What are values that are missing in your state that you don't see represented by community organizations, elected officials, Those are things that you're going to want to talk about when you're running for delegate. But at the end of the day, it all connects back to what I heard from everyone say when you talk about your why, is we all have a story to tell. A story of Black people, of our communities, as individuals. And that is what we're going to bring to the national convening that we hold. So take your why, your issues, your values, all of that is going to connect you to a story. And when you combine that and you're able to refine it and tell it in a very, very powerful way, that is going to help you on your delegate journey and have people want to vote for you and say, that is the person that I want representing me at the national level.
That's great. Karen, anything you want to add?
The only thing I would add is, particularly in running for delegate, it's why you, not just your why. Why are you the person who should be elected to represent your state at the convening? And particularly because we're talking about the idea of being around a table with people you maybe never worked with before, you like, you don't like. So why are you best able to sit at that table and represent even interests you may disagree with, by the way, but that your delegation has decided this is something we want to bring up, right? So you've also got to be communicating to people your why, but why you specifically and why you are the right person to send to represent. And the other thing I would say is I would hold yourself accountable to and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to report back out to you, right? So that people feel like it's a two-way communication, not just a one-way, we're going to vote for you. Because we don't frankly do that enough with people we vote for in the first place. Yeah. Yeah. So let's model what we would like to, the change we would like to see, which is be a kind of delegate who says, I will stay in communication with you so you will know what we're talking about and you will feel that connection.
Wow. Now covered the gamut of how it works from a macro point of view to how to run and what things you ought to be thinking about. I love the why and the why you. Really important information. So we're going to open it up and see if you've got questions that you'd like to ask. Where's Bajia or Simone? They wait for the microphone. And as Karen said earlier, questions have a question mark. So we want to encourage you to get to the question mark. And there are a lot of hands up, so I want you to be precise, concise, and get to the question so that we can make sure we have time to cover everybody. Yes, first question. And please tell us your name and your state.
So my name is Naita Green, and I live in Massachusetts.
Oh, wonderful.
The question I have is, I am of Puerto Rican descent as well as African American. My concern is that are we gonna make sure that the people to participate, because we cannot assume that they're gonna speak English.
So, where's the Chief of Staff of Black America?
Black America. Here she is right here.
I want to offer an answer, but I want her to, actually, do you want to answer?
Chief of Staff is delegating.
My suggested answer would be, as I understand it, the state of the people is about Black folk. Now, I'm from Brooklyn, so I know about Puerto Ricans, Boricua, all of that, right? So I think if folks can come and center their Blackness, then come on. But but the policy papers, everything is written through the lens of Black America. And so for folks who are coming and they may have additional identities, that's fine, but at this thing, we're centering Blackness. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? No.
And I think there was a particular question around accessibility, like language access, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. All of the accessible things for people who need reading assistance, visual assistance, all of that we will have. Is that what you mean?
If one of my family members wanted to attend the event and they only speak Spanish, are we going to be able to offer translation for those who do not understand Spanish, for example?
We will do the best. We'll work on that, Madam Chief of Staff to Black America. Okay,
Okay, yeah,
there you go.
just got an assignment.
Who else
There you
has
go.
questions?
Yeah. No, the answer to your question is, and you've posed a very important question, so the short answer is yes. The long answer is the Chief of Staff just told us we have to put the infrastructure together so that you can get the result that you want. You've raised a very important question, and so just like you see deaf, when you see the sign language folks, you're saying that there are going to be people that are Hispanic and African American probably attending, and we need to know that they cannot speak English. Yeah, Afro-Latino, we got it, yep. Yep.
And like for the, as an aside, for the Democratic Convention, we asked the question,
Yes.
and we can build the infrastructure based on what people tell us they need. So if we ask the question and nobody says, I need, I speak Mandarin, I'm black and then we don't know how to provide what we don't know about. So as the delegate surveys go out and we ask people what their needs are in terms of language, in terms of accessibility, mobility, we will build the infrastructure for what we know is needed and what people tell us that they need. So for your family members, when the form goes out, make sure they say, I need this language, I need Chinese, Mandarin, I need whatever it is I need in order to be able to fully participate. Because if you come in, you spending your money, we want you to be able to fully participate. But we can only meet the need we know is out there. So, I think we got it now, right? Okay. Thanks for pushing to make sure we understood what you wanted.
Nona Florence, Washington, D.C. My question is, as we're organizing and as we're voting on delegates, how do we balance the need for diversity and making sure that all African black people are represented with the fact that maybe some black people are not necessarily pro-black agenda, and we end up with a 5-4 Clarence Thomas Supreme Court situation. So how do we balance that?
Yeah. That's a very nuanced question that I think requires a lot of discretion, right? And I'm not part of the folks that develop the rules, but to me, because I'm an organizer, I could discern the difference between black people who love black people that I disagree with, even deeply, and black people that do not love black people, right? And so there's no precise metric for that, but I've been organizing for years, and I could discern the difference, and I could build coalitions all day with black people who love black people, even those black people who I deeply, deeply disagree with on all types of things. And there's a distinction between that and, we were just hearing earlier about folks who line up and they have basically developed a business model on betraying their people. And that's a very, very small segment of the community that I think, based on my discernment, I know the difference.
Let me just say this too. The base of who you want is people that support state of the people. That assembly will be assembled by state of the people. They will have resolutions, they will have policy papers, and if you find in your delegation that those folks do not support, that goes back to what Ashanti and Karen was saying. When they come before you, that's the power of your vote. You in or you out. But you have to know that the people that are coming to this assembly at least have one base, and that's they believe in the work of this organization thus far.
Good evening, family. My name is Tisha Cole. I am from New Jersey. And Bishop, you mentioned there was Gabby, who was the New Jersey state lead. I just want to get connected with her before I leave.
Is Gabby in the room? She might be in one of the other workshops. There she is, Reverend Gabby Wilkes.
Gabby, I'll be talking to you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrea Pearson. I came all the way from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I am currently a precinct chair, so I've been voted in as a precinct chair in my area. Question is, when you are trying to get the list of your registered voters, and they are saying they have to charge you to get the list, is it more appropriate to go through your Senate district people in order to get that list, or how you basically the person that how you got voted in as a precinct chair, like your city council?
You talking about for the party, for
Yeah,
the
when
Democratic
you're
Party?
trying to get out and organize.
Yeah.
Because I have been trying to get the list of registered voters. Like when I get ready to go door to door, I know who I'm talking to. So I'm having an issue of getting the list of registered voters in my precinct.
Yes. So are you going through your state party, or are you going through the voter registrar's office, or?
That's what I'm trying to go through, but I'm trying to get it where I don't have to, because when you go through the state, you have to pay for that list.
Yeah.
And then they only have it a certain way. If you want to get like a PDF, or if you want to get it a certain way, they don't do it where you can just get the full list in like if you want to print it out, instead of having it in like a PDF, I don't have to put it on my computer. They don't have it where they can just print it out. I'm trying to
we can get you, this is actually a longer question, but we can get you hooked up with the right people so that you can get around paying for it, but get you what you need. Now, is this for state of the people, or is this for your precinct work? Or both? Both? Okay.
What I'm saying
Yeah.
is both, because when I'm
Yeah.
saying when you become, because I was a delegate
Yeah.
in my state. So now what I'm saying, when I want to go national,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is
Yeah.
get to when I get ready to organize, to try to get people involved, get more
Yeah.
involved. I'm trying to get people to actual registered voters, and even though, so I can know who's registered, because who is not registered, that'll let me know to try to get them registered as well, trying to organize.
Yeah.
What state are you from?
Minnesota.
Yeah. And can we also say, God bless you for being here, because we know what your state is going through right now, so thank you for being here.
Yes, if
And-
those
yeah.
haven't found out, I mean, we just had our Miss Hoffman, our speaker, my leader. I had just got a letter from her because she was welcoming me as being a precinct chair in my district, in my area, because for the DFL. So that kind of broke my heart. I had just heard from her, and then her husband, and then we have a senator and his wife that got shot like 14 times. So yeah, we dealing with that right now. And me being new, it's breaking my heart. That's why I had to come to the State of the People. Not only just here, I was in Detroit as well. So now I had to come to Baltimore so I could be able to represent. And now that when I heard that you guys was having this panel, that even made me more had to come here, because of I needs to be able to represent my state. Not only just my state, for all of my black people in my state, because of what happened.
Thank you, sister.
Good afternoon or early evening. I'm Victoria Kirby York with the National Black Justice Collective. Sean and I have been talking about how to increase the representation of Black LGBTQ+, same gender loving delegates in the different states. And there are a few questions. Because the biggest LGBTQ conference in the country borders right up against January 26th next year, I was curious where the location is going to be. Who makes up the electors for the delegates, and if you have an overall delegate goal number. I'm trying to do the math in my head about how many people coming from each state. So as we continue to try to connect folks, that we can answer some of those questions for people.
So I'll start with, it's not January 26th next year, it's January of 2026. So I don't see the chief of staff, so I can't tell you the date or the location. I don't believe we've actually poured cement on that yet. But, so that's an open question. We'll get that to you as quickly as possible.
The Washington, D.C. is a great location. She's putting a plug in for D.C.
And those of us who spend a lot of time in Washington would say, no, we don't want to be in Washington. But fortunately, I'm not on that committee, so, but we will pass that sentiment along. The electors, those who elect the delegates in the state will be people from the state. We're going to send after this a delegate selection map in terms of what the factors and the things you need to be looking for, including the number of delegates from your state. So don't even worry about doing the math. We have already done the math. I just didn't bring the math with me today. So, but you'll get all of that. There will be a packet of information that goes out to those who have been at this assembly to let you know those particular things, including timelines and deadlines, when we need to know your final list, when you need to have your first convening, by all of that sort of thing will come to you in short order at the conclusion of this assembly. I knew you were going to be the one, Victoria, that was going to ask all the nitpicky questions. I know you for your works. Love you. Okay, we're getting the hook. Anybody else? Any other questions? Yes, sir. Last question. Uh-oh.
Oh, yes.
Yes. No comments, just questions.
Of the 6th Region Diaspora Caucus use a similar strategy to establish delegates to the African Union's Economic, Social, and Cultural Council. We've encountered a lot of bureaucratic BS in that process, but we do operate with a similar kind of a plan, only it's global as opposed to just domestic. Number 2, how will you partner with organizations on the ground to ensure that all are included? I'm also the moderator of the Maryland Pan-African Cooperative Coalition. We've had town halls over the last several years, and we're having more this year. Will there be an opportunity for organizations that are currently having community meetings and town halls to partner with what you are doing so
Yes.
that your message can get out?
Yes.
3, with regard to inclusion, is this specifically aimed for representatives of State of the People, the Democratic Party, or established political parties, or is it for representatives who would come from the grassroots African descendant population who may or may not be aware of or members of State of the People? In other words, is this a true bottom-up grassroots movement, or
Yes.
is this an organization-specific effort?
No, the State of the People is for black people. It is not about an organization or about a political party. Whosoever will, let them come.
Okay. And how do you propose to overcome the siloism, the I have the answerism that prevents a lot of organizations and communities from actually coming together to give you that broad-based constituency that you're attempting to represent in your
It can only be done in
assembly?
it can only be done in the doing. People have to be willing to come to the table and to be part of the conversation and to be open to other opinions, other thoughts, and to be willing to have a conversation and commit to being in relationship. We can talk about it or we can do it. And so what we hope in State of the People is that this is a place where we can gather. I'm from the Nationalist Pan-Africanist community. We don't always mix well with others because we think other people are not radical enough. But I'm also a Democrat. I'm also a whole lot of other things. I do work with black women's organizations. We all come with our identities and our memberships and our politics. But the State of the People is for us to come together with our one common denominator being what? We black. And so we can find a way forward. And I think one of our goals is, Chief of Staff, correct me, how do we lay all that down and come into the room saying, you my brother, you my sister. We don't have to agree on everything to agree on the main thing. And how do we take the main thing and move ourselves forward? And that may mean creating new paths and creating new languages and creating new opportunities and new relationships so that we can do something we haven't done before. If you do what you always did, you get what you always got. That's what Miles Mabley said. Now we're trying to do something different, but it requires us saying, I'm here to do something different because our future is at stake.
Can I just also just add, I don't know if you followed, sir, the path of State of the People, but when Dr. Rye assembled the team, let me just tell you, we all came from somewhere other than where she came from. And she was able to put together leaders that have never sat in a room together. And we started from scratch. And that was 11 cities ago, and you have not heard one. Now, we probably all have our isms and all of our things, but you have heard not one dissent because of what the bishop just said. We all knew that it was time for us to come together for Black people. So I would hope that the spirit in which she started this can translate into some of these other states, because it's been short of a miracle. And we love working with each other, absolutely love hearing about what each other is doing. So if you can bring that spirit, because it's clear you got the knowledge, but if you bring that spirit to the organizing, I can't see how you can fail.
All right. Madam Chief, have we covered everything?
I just want to tell this esteemed panel, thank you. If you could please give them a round of applause. I want to tell you how fortunate you are to be here with them. When I tell you every single day, now probably sometimes 2 a days, I've had the privilege and the honor of learning from them. Karen Finney is a masterclass in communications, and she's done everything for us from building narrative to talking points to press releases to doing interviews to telling us when we got something wrong and getting it right. So please give it up for Karen Finney. Maurice Mo Mitchell, my brother in the fight. He runs Working Families Party. And to me, it was essential to have Mo up here because he's not just an organizer, he's a brilliant strategist and thinker. And my favorite thing about Mo is he starts every single thing with how we get to yes. There is not any part of division in his heart. And I'm so grateful for him because even if the politics are different up here, what he knows is that Black folks are not monolithic and we all need to be represented, and that is how he has embodied this work. So please give it up for Mo Mitchell. Mignon Moore is not just a crisis strategist for people all over this country and even internationally. She has personally saved me from some crises. Look at that face. She said each other. But Mignon is also the chair of the DNC's convention in Chicago just this past summer. She ran it masterfully. She ensured that Black folks had opportunities as vendors, as contractors, as media folks, really ensured that we were seen, and she was like, I want to ensure that I'm a part of this delegate training. So everything that I've learned and developed at the DNC over the years, beginning with Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., that we would be able to apply that knowledge here. Reverend Jackson was one of the most important speakers in the Nation Time documentary, if y'all did your homework, in the 1972 National Black Political Convention, and Mignon Moore was developed under his tutelage. So thank you so much, Mignon. Ashanti Golar, if y'all took How to Run for Office earlier, if you saw it in any other city, she is brilliant, she is kind, she makes sure that our logistics are tight, our details are tight, and she does it with so much grace. She is my sister for life. She runs Emerge and so many other things. A Brown Girl's Guide to Politics, I believe. Did I get it right? All right. So make sure y'all check out Ashanti and Bishop Daughtry. Y'all, like when I tell you it's not a detail that she misses, She wants to make sure that if she comes before you, she is in integrity, she is thorough. If it was a question we missed, we get checked. I make sure that I come to her for accountability to ensure that we're doing this right and we're a good steward over every piece of knowledge that we bring to you. Also a former DNC convention chair, has been intricate in what the party does for us, holds them accountable to, both of them. And so we thank God for Bishop Daughtry doing this today. So thank you so much. We love you. Y'all, this is the State of the People National Assembly. We will gather again for our town hall that's being run by our young adults this evening. When y'all see them, please don't come up to them arguing. Figure out how to get to Yes like Mo. He is a joyful warrior. If I see you run up on them, you're going to have a problem with me now. Don't do that. We are trying to build this right. We may have had some blind spots. You might have a brilliant idea. If you have a brilliant idea, guess what we're going to do? Put you to work. Around here, you don't get to drop good ideas and ask us to delegate them. We have all been working for free. Yes, and we are eager for a reparations check. And since you don't have that, don't give us no more work. God bless you and your families. We'll see you at 8:30.
Angela Rye, y'all. Angela Rye. Give it up to Angela Rye.
I mean, these workshops, run by these workshops, get some last of the knowledge. I just dismissed everybody. It's still workshops. Jesus. All right. Thank you.
Utilizing digital platforms as the key to owning our stories, Southside Balcony, all eyes on Maryland reparations movement at the local, state, and federal level, terrace room, and that's in the forum across the street, and Service Beyond Service, Black Vets, that's in the